Be happy. Once upon a time, nestled between two misty mountains and surrounded by whispering pines, was a small village named Solara. The people of Solara were simple folk, known for their craftsmanship, warmth, and laughter. But most of all, Solara was known for a peculiar saying passed down from generation to generation. Whatever happens, be happy. This wasn't just a motto, it was a way of life. In a small stone cottage at the edge of Solara lived a boy named Elian. He was quiet, always watching, always thinking. Unlike the other children who chased butterflies and giggled in the sunlight, Elian rarely smiled. His mother, Amara, was a weaver known for crafting the most vibrant tapestries in all of Solara. She often told Elian stories about the origin of their villages, saying, "When the first settlers came to this land," she'd say, her fingers dancing over colored threads, "they were lost, hungry, and cold. But they chose to laugh, to sing, to share. That joy built the village. That's why we say, whatever happens, be happy. It's our strength." But Elian didn't understand. How could one simply choose to be happy? One autumn evening, as the leaves turned golden and the winds grew playful, a traveler came to Solara. He was old, with silver hair and bright, curious eyes. He carried a wooden staff, adorned with bells and feathers, and introduced himself as Kail. The villagers welcomed him with open arms. That night, by the firelight in the village square, Kail told stories of far-off land-soft deserts that sang in the wind and oceans that glowed under moonlight. But it was what he said at the end that caught Elian's attention. "Joy isn't something you wait for," Kail said, looking directly at Elian. "It's something you create." Elian frowned. "But what if you feel sad?" "Then be sad. But know that joy can sit beside sadness. They're not enemies, you see. They're part of the same story." That night, Elian couldn't sleep. Something about Kail's words made his chest ache and flutter at once. Winter came early that year. Snow blanketed Solara, turning the village into a quiet painting. One morning, a loud crack echoed through the air. The old clock tower, which stood in the village square for over a century, had stopped. The heavy bell that chimed at every hour had fallen and shattered. The villagers were heartbroken. That bell had marked every wedding, every birth, and every celebration. Elian, though usually quiet, stood up and said something that surprised everyone. "We should fix it." "But we don't have the tools," said the blacksmith. "We don't have the time," said the baker. "Then I'll do it," Elian said. He didn't know how to repair a bell or a clock tower, but he knew he had to try. Every day, after helping his mother with weaving, Elian climbed the creaking wooden stairs of the tower. He studied the gears, the broken pendulum, the shattered pieces of the bell. He asked Kail for books, visited the blacksmith to learn about metal, and spent his evenings tinkering. The villagers watched with curiosity, then admiration. Slowly, others joined him. The blacksmith helped weld the bell's pieces. The carpenter reinforced the stairs. Even the baker brought hot rolls to keep them warm. It took many weeks, but finally, on a brisk spring morning, the bell rang once more. It wasn't perfected, sounded different, softer, but it rang. And when it did, the entire village erupted in cheers. Elian smiled for the first time in a long while. Not long after, Kail prepared to leave. Before he departed, he handed Elian a small letter. "I was once like you," it read, "searching, wondering if joy was real. Then I realized happiness isn't a destination, it's a choice. 1,000 tiny choices every day. You chose to help. You chose to smile. That is happiness. The letter ended with 3 words: be happy, always. Elian kept that letter in his pocket for years. Years passed. Elian grew into a young man, and Kale's words stayed with him. When his mother grew sick, Elian sat by her side every day. She could no longer weave, so he did it for her, threading the colors the way she once had. One night, as the fire crackled and the stars blinked in the sky, Amara took his hand. "You found it," she whispered. "Found what?" "The meaning of our saying." Elian nodded. "Yes, I think I have." When she passed, the entire village came to mourn and celebrate. They cried and laughed and sang her favorite song. And even in grief, Elian smiled. Elian eventually became the village storyteller, like Kyle before him. He repaired toys for children, built wind chimes that sang in the breeze, and taught anyone who would listen about happiness, not the loud, bright kind, but the gentle joy that grows quietly. And every time the bell rang in the clock tower, echoing over hills and forests, it carried a message: be happy. One day, many years later, a small child sat by the river, frowning. Elian, now with silver hair of his own, sat beside them. "Why do people always say we should be happy?" the child asked. Elian smiled gently and said, "Because even when things are hard, choosing joy keeps our hearts alive. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about remembering that light still exists, even when it's cloudy." The child thought for a long time, then whispered, "I think I understand." And Elian, heart full, whispered back, "Good, then pass it on."